Good afternoon and welcome to the Veterans Forum. This program is coming to you from the Manchester, New Hampshire Veterans Hospital here in Manchester. It's in conjunction with the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project that was started back in the year 2000, wherein they have asked any stations like this throughout the country, and guys like me, I bet, if they could and would, give every guy and gal who served anywhere in any war or some conflicts, as they sometimes are called, if they would share that experience in a televised interview, which would then be fed to the Library of Congress and included in their database for people coming after us. I've been told by quite a few people, I've been doing this now for about 10 years, and the common theme seems to be that this is perhaps one of the most priceless legacies that any guy or gal can leave to their family. We're reporting history that it was made by the people who made that history. You can't get it much better than that. What we're trying to do is make sure that every guy and gal has that opportunity. So if you will, sit back and watch what we're going to do, and if so, then it'll be your turn. We'd like you to come and join us. Now, I've been waving this thing around, excuse me, but this is most important. 211. It's a link throughout the state of New Hampshire wherein any guy or gal who has 6 months honorable service and an honorable discharge has access to, you can't read it, but there's some 28 different groups and people who can answer almost any question you may have if you need help, or your friends could do it for you if they feel you need help but you don't recognize it. The only problem is you have to ask for it, but if you do, it's there for your service, so please do it and do as you well. Today we have another story, guy who did something way back when. I'm going to ask Randy to introduce himself, and then we're going to get the show started. So sit back and enjoy. If you want to talk to us later on, the address for us will be in the back of this program. Andy, if you will, tell us who you are, where you now live, your branch of service, and your service dates.
My name is Randall Browning. I live right here in Manchester, New Hampshire. And I was in the United States Army from 19 March 1981 to 13 January 2005.
Oh, you made a career out of that, huh? Yeah,
More or less, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Well, okay, now what I'd like to do, we know who you are today, but to fill in, like, remember that old show, This Is Your Life?
Right.
Okay, this is your life, but I want you, we won't have anybody coming out of the woodwork saying how you were good at playground, but I'd like you to tell us, for example, where and when were you born? What was your family life like? Do you have any brothers and sisters? Any of your family members in the service or something like that before you went into the service? So we get an idea. How do you grew up? Okay. It's all on you.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in Manchester. Family of 5, my mother and father. I have an older brother and older sister. I'm the baby.
You're the baby.
I'm the baby. Went to public schools, graduated from Central High School in 1979. Went to a year Bridgeton Academy, and then decided that I needed to get a better direction in life. I was kind of a wild child out there in the cosmos a little. Not troublemaker, well,
on the
fun trouble kind of type of thing, but no real direction. Actually followed my father and brother's footsteps. My brother was a Vietnam veteran. He was in Vietnam the earliest part of the 70s, 72, 73, somewhere there. He was involved. He was in the Marine Corps and was involved with the evacuation of Saigon. My father, who had a very illustrious career of 38 years in the United States Army, was Officer of the Day at Pearl Harbor on December 7th.
Ooh.
So our family was very, very military oriented, and Dad was pretty rough on us growing up, but for a good cause, because he said that one thing you will do before you die is you're going to serve this country.
Okay, gave you a choice.
Yeah, that was the choice. Do it. That's right.
Choice.
At some point, you're going to serve your country in some way or capacity in the military, and rightly so. And it was a great honor to be able to make it through all the challenges
that you faced.
That I faced.
Well, can we back up a bit? I'd like to get a little bit of your family history as far as what you did as a boy going up through school. Did you play any sports? Were you any good? Were you a good student, or you just got by? What did you like and didn't like?
Well, I didn't like school,
Oh,
but that's one of the criteria. You have to go to school. You
yeah,
just can't.
that's another choice you didn't have.
I didn't have a choice on that, but I did
Yeah.
have a choice, I guess. Yeah, but no, I wasn't a bad student. You know, I was maybe a little bit above average, I guess, until I hit my senior year in high school, and then.
And then all hell broke loose? Or?
Well, they had this thing where we could pick our time, pick our teachers, pick our classes, and you find out as you go along that you don't need 4 years of math to graduate, or you didn't need
trigonometry.
Yeah, but you needed 4 years of English, so I took cooking, cuisine, and culture,
And eating and recess 1 and 2.
Yeah, right. My father, and my father said, "Don't get married. Worst thing you can ever do." And I said, "Well, I got to be able to feed myself.
Yeah.
I may not end up being like you, or retired, vice president of a bank and retired colonel in the army. I may not have a paycheck like that, so I'm gonna have to learn how to cook for myself. So that's why I took the classes, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
It looked like you did well.
oh yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
You never missed a meal.
Well,
Sometimes.
there was a few times in the military I missed a few meals.
Okay, now, what, other than that background, when and how did you know you were going into the service? Did you have a choice, or did you make it by yourself?
I made it by myself. I was bouncing around. I'd gone to school for a little bit. I mean, Bridgeton Academy was kind of set me in the right direction.
Is that a local school? Or?
No, that's up in Bridgeton, Maine.
Oh, okay.
My father figured out that'd be the best place because it was an all-boys school, no women, and if you looked at the time, a picture of the campus, it looked like somebody took a hole saw and just cut out holes in the wild woods of Maine and put buildings in there.
Like it had measles.
Yeah, right, exactly. So my father said, "That's where you're going. You're
Yeah.
going to knuckle down. You're going to learn to study. You're going to
Make me proud of you.
yeah, so I'm not going to send you to some school where you went to underwater basket weaving, So I said, okay, and I did very well up there, made the headmaster's list, and played sports up there, played soccer and lacrosse.
This was his academic list I'm putting you on, of course, as opposed to deportment as far as the listing goes. You were on top of his other list.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
But I made, I made that list. Which,
You were a good student.
right, I became better than average like I was
Good.
in high school. So, it was kind of a slow learning process for me, I guess.
Any extracurricular activities like sports, drama club?
Well, high school, I played football until my senior year. I had a neck injury that prevented me from playing. I ran cross country. I played church league basketball. Then, like at Bridgeton, I played soccer and lacrosse.
How about skiing up in this country?
Yeah, no, that was balance thing for me.
Okay.
I did it, but I wasn't very good.
Okay.
I did more like the snow tubing and stuff like that, shovel racing.
Making angels in the snow.
Yeah, making angels in the
Hey,
snow. I was
you
pretty
must
good
have
at
been
that.
a good one.
Yeah, I was good at that. Yeah,
Okay.
but I came home. I tried going to the local vocational college for building construction, architectural drafting, blueprint reading, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And those portions and those classes I did very well. I picked up mechanical skills from my mother's father, my maternal grandfather. Math I picked up from my father and my paternal grandfather, who was an engineer. And so the things kind of combined, working with my hands, and I was fairly good at that. But the academic side was stuff that I already had. I thought from like 8th grade on, and it was just kind of repeating everything. And I said, this is boring. I'm losing. In fact, my father came. I had a psychology class. My father came, and he says, "Get up, we're out of here."
Oh.
And as he's walking out, he looked at the teacher and says, "You need to be examined." And we walked out the door. He walked in the administration. He says, "I want my money back up until this point. From this point, for the rest of this, I want my money back because you're ripping me off. This kid's not learning anything." And out the door we went.
Did he get his money?
I'm sure he did.
I'm being nosy, but
But
money.
I'm
gets
sure
back.
my father didn't take no for an answer. My father,
Well, he was then a bank president, you said,
yeah,
vice president?
yeah, but my father's military career spanned from 1937 to 1975.
Was it regular Army or special group?
He was regular Army, and then last portion he was reserve officer.
Okay.
And but he, this is a guy that he was 14 in the Depression. He was 3 years old during World War I. He was like I said, he was officer of the day for the 16th Coast Artillery at Fort DeRussy in Hawaii, in Oahu. And he was artillery advisor for the Korean War, artillery advisor for the Vietnam War. He was in on, all kinds of
Wow.
stuff. Oh yeah, I got manuals at home, have since been declassified, but they were, how to launch nuclear, tactical nuclear weapons through artillery devices, artillery pieces. And, he was very, very hard-nosed, very hardcore. And he never took no for an answer. And
Well, was he a ROTC when he went to school?
yes, yep. He was with UNH.
Okay.
And went through their group was the Scabbard and the Blade, was the Society for the ROTC officers.
Good.
And so a lot of life experiences, a lot of things we had to learn on our own.
Yeah.
Because that's what and his motto. And my brother laughs every time we talk about it when we get together and have a couple of cold ones. Is perfection is not good enough.
I know.
And we look at each other and like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, failure's not an alternate.
Yeah, right. And I understood that you can always do better.
Yeah.
You may have got. He was a guy, 8,000 people in a stadium. You score 2 touchdowns, but he'll yell, "You dummy! You missed a block on that last play." And that. But his whole focus was you can always be better, and if you do the best that you can,
You can't be.
you
fault.
can't. You can't be at fault, and you can't be. You'll be successful whatever it is that you're doing. So it worked out, and so when I got out, I kind of bounced from job to job. I was working as a kid in high school. I was working as a lifeguard for the city of Manchester through the Parks and Recreation program, and so I got on in the wintertime. Just down the hill from here is a ski area, McIntyre.
McIntyre's, yeah.
Yeah.
I had the grandkids down there one time.
Yeah. So I started out as what they call a lift rat. You sit there and you hold the chair while the people get on.
Yeah.
And then I moved up to snowmaking at night. And so I was hoping that by being the lifeguard, kind of going into the ski area, that I would get hired on full time. When I saw the openings for, a full-time employee. And that didn't happen. So I said, yeah, I got to get out of here for a while. So I joined the Army. I came home.
Just like that?
Just like that. It was, I remember, it was March 1st or 2nd, maybe.
What year? 42?
1981. Yeah, 42.
Not 19.
1981. And the ski area was, closing down. We had an unusually warm and early spring. So I asked, the foreman, I said, is there any chance I can, hang on to, get the ski area set for the summertime, because there's a lot of things you have to do, close down, take the chairs off the cables. No, we already got a crew like that, can't help you, sorry, So I started, I don't know, it was a 3-day process, if I remember correctly, that I just kept going to each branch of the service, and I started out, with the Army. I said,
do different recruitings.
right, and went to the Army. I want to go special forces. Can't guarantee you the school. Went to the Marine Corps. I wanted Force Recon. No, I can't give you. Navy, I want SEAL. Air Force, I want PJ, pararescue jumper. And then I just,
Kept circling?
and I kept going down, and finally I said, the Army says, look, dude, you've been in here 5 or 6 times now in the last 2 or 3 days. What is it you want to do? I said, I don't want to be a cook. I don't want to be a field artilleryman, because that's what my dad is, and I don't want to hear him, He says, well, I'll give you the next best thing. How about the cavalry, go in a tank? So he showed me the little recording, the video, the recruiting video, right? And I said,
That's it.
that's it, that's me.
Okay.
And so that was probably the 6th of March. They put me in what they call the delayed entry program, which was only for the remainder of the time until the 19th, when I took off for basic training, and which is kind of cool because my dad never gave up his commission. He never resigned his commission, and so he got to swear me in, as he did my brother. Swore my brother in. Yeah, it was good. It was kind of a cool thing, and we ended up going to Fort Knox, Kentucky for basic.
Let me stop you right there. Once you decided to go in, how did you get there? Did you have to drive in, fly down, or what have you? And then when you got there, how did it feel the first couple of days when you went from civilian into GI? Or Or don't you want to talk about it?
Oh no, it was fairly easy for me.
Oh, yeah, you should have had a
For
lot
the,
of
for the
training.
most part. I mean, other people I've heard,
Yeah.
oh man, shock and awe. I was like, what? Hey, and then there was guys like that, deer in the headlight, looked like, what I do? What I do? What I
Yeah.
just do?
I'm innocent.
Yeah, right. And it was funny because my father, the only advice that he gave me was, keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut, and don't volunteer for anything. I said, okay. And then he said, sidebar to that is, do not volunteer any information. That's part of the don't volunteer for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Answer the question honestly, but
don't
don't elaborate. And whatever the
Yes,
specific
yes,
question is, you give that specific answer.
Yeah.
If you don't know, tell them you don't know. And I said, okay. And later on, right between, because I did what they call the one-stop unit training, we were actually a training group to see how it would work at Fort Knox. They had done it at a couple of other Army.
Oh, you're kind of a guinea pig, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
right, exactly. So Fort Knox is the home of Armor and Cavalry at the time. And because what they were doing before is you go to basic at Fort Jackson or Fort Benning, and then you go home, and then you go to Fort Knox for your advanced individual training, AIT.
Yeah.
Well, they said, well, we're wasting money here. Let's just keep them together all for the whole duration. I think I was 17 weeks. I got my basic infantry training, and then I got my advanced individual training in armored vehicles and tanks. And
Okay. When did you have a chance to make this election at doing what you wanted to do as far as?
when I went to the recruiter,
Okay.
and I got
You had
the
a contract?
Yep, the contract, signed, sealed deal, guaranteed. I'm going to get,
Yep.
armor school.
Good.
So, but it was funny getting back to the don't tell anything unless you're specifically asked. It was the break between, which was like 2 days really, but they made it kind of like a 4-day weekend. And they made it family weekend,
Oh.
so your families could go down if they wanted to, and they had, who could get in out of bed and get dressed for PT fast and make the bed and everything. It was like these little competitions, weapons,
Okay.
taking apart weapons and all that, which is another part of the story. Is they said whose parents are coming down, so all the people said the parents are coming down. Raise their hand. How many? 2, mother and father. 2, mother and father. Brother and sister, whatever. And so they never asked me about my father. Anything about him? They just said, "Is he coming?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." So my father shows up, and he had this uncanny thing. He did it with my brother down at Paris Island when he went down to graduate from the
Little
Marine Corps
dress?
boot camp. Nope, he just walked in and just raised holy hell. you know.
Why?
Because when he got on a military base, he figured he was back in, and everybody, and he just
Yeah, with the bird and
yeah,
the-
no, just uniform. But he showed his ID card, and locked everybody up, and they came running to find me, and
Yeah.
the next thing you know, he looks at me, "You look like crap. Your mother's out in the car. Go see your mother." And I go out, and he's in. I see my drill sergeant doing one of these numbers, and blah blah blah. Next thing you know, "Browning, yes, drill, yeah, and I
Yeah,
come
give me
running.
50.
"Why didn't you tell me your father was a retired colonel of the United States Army? Your favorite drill sergeant, the guy who's been taking care of your sorry ass. Why didn't you? Oh, you're mine, Browning. You're mine." And so we get to the competition thing of the family day, and we had to take one of the weapons that we on the tank, machine gun,
Okay, strip it.
strip it down,
Yeah.
right, clear it, take it apart, and then you had a family member come to take,
help you
put it back,
reassemble?
they had to put it back together
Oh.
and do the functions check on the weapon. And so they call up Sergeant Davison, 4th Platoon representative. "That would be Private Browning." "And who is Private Browning's, whatever going to be?" He looked right over, and my parents were sitting on the side. He goes, "His mother." And my mother goes, "I don't know anything about weapons." And my father goes, "Oh, this ought to be good," So, but it worked out. She did well. We
Okay.
came in second, so it wasn't bad.
Okay. Then what?
Then we went into training, got out, had earned up enough leave time to have, I think it was 3 days off, and I went off to Germany, where I was assigned to the 4th Battalion, 73rd Armor Regiment of the 1st Infantry Division Forward. Served there for a little over 2 years. with the 1st Infantry.
What were you doing there? What kind of duty did you have? Just occupation or training? Or?
No training. The occupation was pretty much over by then. We were just part of the NATO forces as part of, you know, the stopping capability of the Warsaw Pact in case they came across from East Germany, you know, over the wall.
Those Russian guys.
Yeah, Russian, East German, yeah. So I basically, you know, I started out as a tank driver. When I left, I was a gunner. You know, you have a progression that you move up in the tank.
I thought the driver was the most important guy.
Well, he is.
You get your ass to and from.
And then the gunner is a little bit, I guess, you know, because he has to hit the targets, obviously. But no, we had a good group. We had a good company for the most part, you know, because company commanders and first sergeants, platoon sergeants, and everything, we all rotate, we all change. Yeah. But for the most part, we had an outstanding group out there. I rotated back Fort Hood, Texas, where I was a member of 2nd Battalion, 5th Cavalry Regiment, 1st Cav Division, Fort Hood. It was actually a good deal. Got hooked up with Battalion XO because I was leaving, he was leaving. It made me his driver for...
Cushy job?
Not really. Not with Major Parrott. It wasn't cushy at all.
Okay.
But
I withdraw the question.
Yeah, no, well, in a ways it was. He left, so I cleared when he cleared, but he was leaving 45 days before me. So I cleared with him, which, you know, wouldn't be possible for anybody else. So for 45 extra days, I had no weapon, I had no field gear, I had nothing but my uniform. You know, basically I ran and got coffee for people, whatever. Okay. But I wanted to stay with the unit because at the time they were upgrading from the old M60A1 tank to the 8th.
The old Bradley?
No, it was a Patton tank. They call it the Patton tank. And they were getting the A3 version, which had the thermal sighting, laser engagement, you know, the laser rangefinders and all that. And Major Parrott said, no, you want to go back to Fort Hood because it's going to be a better deal for you. I'm like, but, you know, I'm going to be, no, you want to go back here, Brown, listen to me. I'm telling you. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you for conditioning my mind and body, you know. And so I went back to Hood only to find out that the 5th Cav was the 1st Battalion stateside to get the M1 tank, the new M1 tank coming out. So I got, now he wouldn't tell me, but he had made arrangements. He knew people in Armor Branch. Said, send this kid to this unit. He deserves to go to this unit. So I went to that unit and trained with the M60 or the M1 Abrams tank when it came out. And then I got out. I got into a little trouble. Kind of had to clear my head again. So I came home for about 16 months where I stayed in the system. I went into a reserve unit, drill sergeant unit. Went through the drill sergeant program, drill sergeant school. I came back on active duty. Went back to Fort Hood again. Served with, was it 2nd Battalion, 32nd Armored Regiment with the 1st Cav. I spent about a year there, and then I went to Germany with 3rd Armored Division, stayed at Ray Barracks where Elvis Presley was stationed at. Oh yeah, yeah. Elvis Presley Memorial Dining Facility, the whole 9 yards. And I was with them, and I was with like I said, 3rd Armored Division. Rotated back to Fort Hood to the 1st Battalion, 8th Cavalry Regiment, where they were training with the new Singars frequency hopping digital radios.
Okay, that's over my head.
Yeah, well, it's basically kind of the radios that they have in the aircraft. Oh. It scrambles, you can't.
Oh, it encodes as you're typing?
Well, no, while you're talking on the radio, the frequency hops in the band. It hops like 100 times a second through the whole band, so you can't be picked up with a listening device.
Oh, good. Okay, I didn't know that.
So the downside of that was that August, Iraq invaded Kuwait. We got shipped over. We were in M1, the old M1 tanks. I came from 3rd Armored Division where we had the M1A1, 120 millimeter main gun, where the M1s only had 105 millimeter. And everybody else was coming over that was from Europe units. And they all had, I said, this is going to be a nightmare if we get into a firefight and somebody gets confused, because somehow we're going to end up with bigger bullets that aren't going to fit in the breech of the cannon. But it all worked out. But the other bad side was we were the only unit in the entire theater of operations, Army, Navy, Air Force, except for the pilots, that had the SINGARS radio. So we could talk to each other in this frequency hopping mode, they call it. And if we had to talk to somebody else, we had to go into secure plain text, which was now, they'd have to search the band. If they found where you were on, then they could listen in on you. So yeah, it was.
So that wasn't really a secure band then?
If you had to go to that secure plain text type of thing. But if you were on the frequency hop, nobody could catch you. And it was kind of interesting.
Well, what was your life like in there, in the desert?
Hot, very, very, very hot, especially after firing the main gun. Temperature would rise 15, 20 degrees from the heat.
Just one shell?
One shell, yeah.
You weren't air conditioned at all, huh? They said they were.
Well, I don't know what their definition of air conditioning is.
Okay.
But we had what they call the climate control vest that plugged into what they call the gas particulator system.
Now, is that the carbon liner?
No, this was it's kind of like a fishnet vest.
Okay.
It had a disc on the front, a disc on the back, and then it had these hoses that had little holes.
With air or
air,
cold?
and air would go in it. So the highest temperature would go on, because it's basically used for heater in cold weather. So the highest it would go on would be 72.
And that wasn't even cool then.
No. And so it's like.
Who needed it?
But on top of that, we had the required gear was we had to have leather boots, where everybody else was wearing jungle boots that were out in the sand because of fire. Because the jungle boots had nylon.
Yeah,
and they burn, they'd melt to your skin. So we had to wear leather boots. We had to wear Nomex coveralls that don't breathe, with a balaclava, and Nomex gloves. And then minimum underneath was a
flak vest or some kind?
Type of flak vest, yes, to protect the body. Very thin.
How about the fanny?
What's that?
How about your fanny? Any seats like they had in the cockpits?
Oh, we had seats. They were okay, but not for long periods of time.
About IEDs coming up underneath.
Oh, that wasn't the first Gulf War. That wasn't an issue.
Good.
For the most part, it was more the Scud missiles, which every time they fired, we had to take what they call the PB tablet, polybromide, I think is what it stands for. It was basically a mild. Supposedly the way it was explained to us was it gave us a mild dose of nerve agent, because that's what they figured the Scuds were filled with, was a nerve agent.
Okay, yeah.
So your body would produce an antibody.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be able to use the Mark II injector kit, which is the the self-injector type of thing, which, man, that needle goes to a piece of 5/8 plywood, so it's like, what's going to do to your butt when because that's where they tell you, the meaty part of your leg.
Just close your eyes and hope.
Yeah, just hope that, you don't hit the bone or something, but.
It worked.
Well, fortunately for us, we never had to see that side of it.
Oh, okay.
We just had to take the tablets, but, the downside of that, we found out later that they were never tested on humans. They just, here you go, you got to take these every time.
Sure, you're a guinea pig.
Yeah. So every time the Scud missile launched, we had to take, and you had to take the series, which is 3 pills every 8 hours. So even though the Scud missile attack was over, we still had either 8 or 16 hours to go, because the minute you heard, you took one. Okay, you get it, so now you take the next one, and so on and so forth.
APCs.
Yeah, but it was, it was interesting. I mean, I've heard some of the gentlemen talking. I guess I found my home. I guess I can say that proudly, because you're dependent on not only your platoon, but just starting with the tank.
Yeah. My 4 and a half guys.
Yeah, you're dependent on these other 3 guys to make it through whatever ordeal you're going to make it through.
And they're depending on you too.
Exactly, and then it just multiplies to the other 3 tanks in your platoon. and then the other 4 tanks in the other 2 platoons. You know, and it's just this huge camaraderie. And the funny thing, in the cavalry and in armor, you're a closer knit family because there's so few of you.
And you're confined.
Right, so, you know, you may leave and go to Germany, and you might be with the 3rd Armored Division, and I might be with the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, who was there at the time. And we might cross paths as we go to Grafenwehr for gunnery or Hohenfels for maneuvering over in Germany. You're bound to bump into somebody, somewhere.
You have to have one for the road.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You have to have one for the
Oh,
road.
absolutely, yeah. But, you know, the only thing I regret is I got old and I retired. I wish I could have just kept on going, because there's so many things that, you know, that matter to me, you know, the service to the country. Yeah.
Okay.
I just did a program here back in December on the 7th to relive my dad's story and what he went through, what I got out of him when he talked about Pearl Harbor. And it's important to keep it alive, and like you said at the beginning of the show, more people need to come out.
They have to.
And tell the story, because everything that everybody did is important, regardless of whether the country wasn't behind you, whether the country is with you. Everybody needs to know, because the future generations, you know.
Well, they don't teach that stuff in school anymore. The kids don't know half the plots you talk about. Well, where is it? I had one guy time, he said, do you have any remembrances of Pearl Harbor? And he said, what team did she play for? I mean, that blew me right out of the water. She played at Pearl Harbor, playing for some team or something. No, something goes way back in your grandfather's history.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sad. In fact, you mentioned that there were three students from Bedford High School that the teachers allowed them to come because they wanted to interview. They were doing a project in school, and they wanted to interview a World War II veteran, which we have a couple here. Mm-hmm. And they talked to me as well after the ceremony for the Pearl Harbor ceremony, and I guess they're going to reach out at some point. They want me to come.
Now, did you join any, when you got out, like the DAV, VFW, Legion?
I am a proud member of Manchester Post 79. A post my dad belonged to. Did a lot of things with the Legion there, so I'm following his footsteps down there.
When you get out, do you go back to work? Do you get a job and so forth? What was your post-war history like?
Well, the last portion of my tour was with reserve, so I was on and off going here and there with the unit, but I was working as a plumber and a pipe fitter, and people, geez, reservists, we're going to miss you. They had 2 weeks, now you're being deployed, whatever. There weren't too many people that were crazy.
Not backing you up.
Not too much.
No.
Then finally, after 7 or 8 years, I finally landed a job here 9 years ago, and I've been here ever since, working maintenance for the VA Medical Center. So it's been a great job. I get to see all kinds of veterans. I get to talk to them. Yeah, so this has probably been other than the Army, this has probably been the best job I've ever had.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I get to talk to these guys.
And you do a lot of good talking to the guys. Just the simple fact of talking sometimes takes an awful lot of that baggage and it's right out the door.
Right, yeah.
You guys don't believe it, but it's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, I learned a lot from these guys. Things I never heard, but now I heard it right from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Or the other end sometimes.
Yeah, well, yeah. But for the most part, it's an individual experience with a unit that you know about, that you've read about, and now you've got that personal touch to it. Yeah. I can ask those questions like, hey, did you do this? Did you think of this? Or because this is what happened to me and this is what I thought of.
You're talking the same language.
Right, exactly.
You don't need a code.
Right, and that's why, I talk to a lot of the younger soldiers that are coming back now that come here for treatment from Afghanistan and northern Iraq and everything. The importance of joining these organizations, because there's strength in numbers. It always has been.
It always will be.
And yes, and so this is our voice to the country, the Congress, to hold them accountable to the promises that they made to us, to take care of us.
Oh, yeah.
And the numbers dwindle, they're going to be able to do whatever we want because we won't have the numbers to fight back. I said, and other portion of that is you get to go someplace that the guy sitting you is not, some drunken blowhard talking what he thinks is going on and what should be done in Afghanistan, because that just gets us all angry because they didn't have the gumption, I'll put it that way, to put on a pair of combat boots and walk the paths that we walked. So here you have that, the camaraderie like you spoke of, that you have that. And it's so meaningful because I didn't open up for a long time until I went to the post, and then there's a gentleman here that, I have issues, I go talk to these people.
Yeah, we do.
And the funny thing about this guy, Butch Colby, and I don't mind saying his name, and I don't think he minds either, but he was in the first Cav in Vietnam. I was in the first Cav in Desert Storm. And the real hair-raising thing is we were in the same battalion.
Wow.
And so we got together and he goes, "Hey, bro, hook me up. I can't find any Cav patches." "Yeah, I got plenty of them."
Yeah.
So I bring them in, I hand them out, and it was great. And just, just the exposure that I get, I can't describe the feeling, but I feel great afterwards.
Okay.
When I get to talk to these people, and I even feel better when I can get them to come into the comradeship, of the VFW. I'm not a member of the VFW. I should be. I was when I was down in Texas. I think, I came up here, they weren't very strong. They had their little group, and, we weren't in that group. We were kind of, which I thought odd, because, my father told me it's a brotherhood.
Yeah,
it's a brotherhood until the day you die. But
changing gears a second. Were you ever married?
I am married. I was.
Any kids?
No.
Okay.
Four-legged ones.
Oh.
That bark and meow.
And scratch like hell.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I was married. My first marriage, my wife was very ill, passed away in '93. I came home, and I actually married a girl that I knew. Well, her mother was my first grade Sunday school teacher, so that's how So, and we kind of, had a thing for each other, but I never really saw it until, I came home, and we hooked up after, 15, 18 years or so, and
Still
I
going
asked her to
strong?
marry her, and she said yep, and we'll be celebrating our 21st wedding anniversary this June.
Oh, so it's going to take then.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I hope so. I mean,
Okay.
I've been practicing for 21 years.
Got a dumb question, but I have to ask it.
No question is dumb.
I know, sometimes I ask it stupidly. But from what you've said and done and where you've been, do you think that your service life has been a positive or negative impact on how you spend the rest of your life?
Definitely positive. Definitely positive.
In what manner, if you can describe it?
I can overcome a lot of obstacles I don't think I would have been able to handle had I not, had the training
Okay.
that I got in the military. Always think outside the box. Like everybody else, you get a little help somewhere along the line.
Oh, yeah, obviously,
Yeah.
everything builds. You
Yeah.
find that out in
Right.
time.
I know, like I mentioned earlier, the camaraderie. If I have a problem, everybody's all ears.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't want to hear. I got, we all sit and we talk and get it out. And I like I said, I try to tell these guys the best thing is talking.
Yeah.
Talk with someone who's been there. Even if it wasn't the desert, if it was the jungles of Vietnam, we walked the same path. Theirs was just wet, moist, and muddy. Ours was sand and wind blowing in our face.
Scorpions.
Yeah, and yeah.
But bastards. Oops.
But I think I've become a better, stronger person. I can laugh at a lot of things. I can make jokes of a lot of things. I think that a lot of people can count on me.
Good.
You know, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yeah.
If people say, you know, I don't have a hair, I prove them wrong because I have more than one hair, and I will do it. If you challenge me, I will do it.
Okay.
You know, so I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. They know it here. If I see an issue, you know, a veteran's issue, I let them know. I'm not afraid to, you know, speak. I think the best part about my whole ordeal is that I'm just so damn proud to have been a soldier.
Yeah. Good.
And I wear my uniform proudly when
Does it still fit?
Little snug.
Yeah, I got some gussets. They call it expansion.
Yeah, yeah. No, I for the most part I work. In fact, for the funny thing was when I was working for the, getting ready for the Pearl Harbor ceremony that we did over here in the solarium, I actually would only eat one meal a day.
Oh, just to get down?
Just to get down so it would fit, so it wouldn't be so snug,
Yeah.
like the buttons were going to pop off if I, you know.
Yeah, you
turn
look out shrapnel.
Yeah, right. Pew! But no, I every time I put it on, I make sure it, you know, it's
Class A straight.
and it goes down, or with them wearing the utility uniform when I'm marching with, you know, other fellow veterans, you know, Memorial Day Parade,
Mhm.
Veterans Day Parade. And then I love marching with all these guys because we have a conglomerate. They have the Vietnam Veterans of America that march with us. Always want to march with the Post 79.
Good. Maybe you can do some recruiting out there, get some of the guys there. I know there's a lot of veils of silence from the Nam guys, but a lot of them are starting to come to the fact that we're not going to live forever. We're fighting the clock on the calendar. I'm not hanging crepe, but it's a fact of life.
Oh yeah.
We're getting older while this thing called time is just ticking away.
Yeah, I try to help out any way I can. These people. I was on a radio show a couple weeks ago for the Liberty House.
Oh yeah.
And had Keith Howard on with me to explain what the Liberty House was. What they had an event coming up. They wanted support, kind of a fundraiser type of thing. I'm a Jimmy Buffett fan, so I'm a member of and past president of the New Hampshire Parrot Head Club, and our fundraising. What's
the Parrot Head? I haven't heard of that one.
That's a Jimmy Buffett fan that likes Jimmy Buffett music.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm a Massachusetts transplant.
yeah,
I
that's
can't
okay.
go that far.
That's okay. That's okay.
We
We just had a meeting Wednesday night, and between two raffles, we were raffling off 2 Bruins tickets and swag, we call it.
Yeah.
You know, margarita glasses with margarita mix and you know, whatever. And for the group that was there, because it was a storm coming in, it was raining, snowing, whatever, we still came up with about $300-something for the Liberty House.
Very good. They need it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They
I've
need.
got a lot of stuff that's shrunk down there that's used but usable.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. The way the world is right now and the way chaos seems to be the normal, or confusion, would you suggest to any of the kids that are getting through school, before they go out to try to go to college or that, maybe think of joining any of the branches of service to take advantage of the training that they can get to then help them find out where they want to put their impact when they want to get out? I'm not trying to recruit, but I ask the guys because we've been down the road. We have some pretty good ideas, but a lot of the kids don't know.
Right. I truly believe that. Yeah. I would do that. Yes. I've always said that. You know, these kids when they get out of high school, 16, 17, 18
They're
years
fuzzy.
old. You know, like every other teenager kid, I know what I'm doing. I got the world.
Yeah.
You know, right, exactly. And they don't. They have no clue.
I know.
I mean, they've been in hometown USA. They've been hanging out with their friends playing football. They're the prom queen and king or whatever, but no life experience. I mean, you're going to get it all. Yes, right now, you know, luck of the draw is higher that you're going to be deployed somewhere, but that's the nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. But God willing that you make it through that deployment and you just serve that one tour, that experience, the knowledge, the training is invaluable when you get back here.
Because you've grown up.
Exactly. And if you follow the guidelines, you follow the training, you accept the training, you will see that nowadays that employers are more eager to hire veterans
Yeah.
because they know they're going to be on time. They know they're trainable.
And they're responsible.
And they're responsible for their actions, they're responsible for their, and they're going to give 110%, they're going to pay attention to detail, they're going to get whatever the product is, it's going to be a lot better than, not saying that the colleges and universities don't teach and prepare, but the military wraps it all up
Yeah.
in one lump.
That's
in
where the rubber meets the road.
Right. In a 4-year period of enlistment, you're going to get all that and more. And you're going to get benefits because you can always take online classes in college.
Mhm.
You're going to get all that. After 4 years, you walk out. If you do it right, and it's not that hard, you've got all the life experiences pretty much
Yep.
in that 4-year period. There's still much more to learn. There's always something to learn every day.
But you got a good grounding.
But yeah, I would say you have a better working knowledge of life to move on when you get back when you're 25 or 26 years old after that.
Still young
step.
enough to go and make a big mark for yourself.
Right. I believe
Three
that. I believe
words.
that.
Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. My pleasure to be here. Thank you for having
Thank you
me.
for helping us.
Hoo-ah.
Ding how. That's a wrap, folks, as they say in the television world. But before I leave, I want to remind you again. 211. If you need it, you've worked for it, use it. If you're interested in sharing your experiences, check the back of the program. You'll find out how to get a hold of me. Bob Stevens, saying thank you for watching, and if you're so inclined, come and see us. We'll do all we can to make it worth your while. Goodbye.